Hello and welcome to Systems Wise, the show that helps business owners and teams to solve their big sales, marketing, and systems challenges one episode at a time. You can watch the video version of this episode at getsystemswise.com. I'm Gareth Everson, and on this episode, I'm going to be continuing what we started in episode 41, where we talked about top of funnel landing pages and having the right structure and content and messaging for those people that are top of funnel. Top of funnel, if you remember, is for those people who are aware of a problem but don't know how to address it. By contrast, middle of funnel, which I'm talking about today, is all about those people that know that they've got the problem, that have sort of self-diagnosed or been helped to diagnose what that issue is that they've got in their business or in their personal life. And in the middle of funnel, then they're starting to look for solutions. So they're solution seekers. And this is what middle of funnel is all about. In the context of your landing pages, what we're going to be doing with middle of funnel landing pages that are speaking to this audience is providing them with more insights to help them get to the point where they can recognize the solution that they need to address the problems that they've got. And so there are two main forms that you can use when we're at middle of funnel. One is what I described in our very first landing pages episode as the infomercial style landing page. This is the one that sort of feels like a blog with plenty of enriched content in there and insights and detail that helps them to do their own research and become a lot more sort of solution aware around where they should go. The difference between it being a landing page and a blog page is that you're still keeping away lots of the clutter that they would see on a blog page. We're keeping menus to a minimum and ideally lower down the page. We're not having lots of distracting messaging down, say, the right-hand column of the page where they can jump away and look at different posts. What we're having them do is read our insightful content in this kind of infomercial type setting that then logically leads them into opting in for more details about the problem that you've just helped them diagnose and the solutions that exist around solving that particular problem. So there's that infomercial model style landing page around this. The other really popular one is this survey or quiz style landing page. This has become really popular with solutions like Score app and other quiz funnel style opt-in pages. These are really suited to middle of funnel people because under normal circumstances, or under top of funnel circumstances, should I say, where somebody recognizes that they've got a problem and are very early in the investigation phases, they probably don't want to engage with something that takes a more significant amount of their effort and contribution to opt in to get the guide that they have. Whereas once they've become more problem aware and are solution seekers, they're far more willing to tell you more about that problem that they face. And so the whole quiz-based or scorecard-based funnel style, where you're asking them a series of questions that then profile that problem that they've got and help them to determine where they're at in what solution that they should be looking for or what specifically they should be looking out for in order for them to be able to solve that problem that they've got. Score app or scorecard or quiz style funnels are ones that work very well at middle of funnel because whilst they have to give you their details and have to answer a lot of questions, what they can expect in return for this, and you should be clear about this on the landing page that they hit, is really specific guidance about where they're at and what they need to solve that problem and how that they can solve it. Scorecards and quiz-based funnels work really well for our middle of funnel audience. So let's think about some of the characteristics around middle of funnel. What we're looking to help somebody do is to get clearer in their mind around how to solve the problem that they've got. And so there are a couple of factors in that. One, we want to be able to be sharing with them our expertise and insights. We want to be showing them that we are credible sources of that information. So things like showing reviews on that landing page that they hit, things like showing our accreditations and things that position us as the expert. If you've already published it, a book, references to your YouTube channel, or other things that position you on that pedestal as being an expert to help them, it puts in their mind that this person is somebody that can help here. That all builds this picture of you being a trustworthy source that can help them to solve this problem. So when you're asking them for more by way of their opt-in or asking more of their time to read through your materials on that landing page, it gives them less resistance if they can see that you're the right person to be able to do that for them. Now let's think about some of the kind of content or topics that you can talk about when it comes to middle of funnel. There are two fantastic books that relate to middle of funnel and bottom of funnel situations. One is by a person that I've talked about many times on this podcast, Marcus Sheridan, who wrote the book They Ask, You Answer. And in that book, he talks about the big five. Now, he doesn't talk about this specifically as middle of funnel or bottom of funnel, but in my mind, the content in that book speaks really clearly to people that are at the middle of funnel or bottom of funnel. His big five in the book relate to topics around the cost. So how much is this solution likely to cost me? And breaking down all of the various different cost options around solutions. The second one is around the topic of problems. So what can go wrong when it comes to me solving this problem that I've got? And that helps build trust by acknowledging the fact that there are certain challenges to whatever problem you've got. So problem-based content is the second of his big five. The third one of the big five is around comparisons. So why is this solution better than that solution? And why should you be paying perhaps more for this with these features or these benefits than you would do by going low market and not doing that? So providing comparisons of various different solutions that are out there in a very honest and transparent way, even talking about your competitors or alternatives, is a really good way to build that middle of funnel authority. And of course, off the back of that, you can offer them downloadable guides or resources to help them see the difference between solutions that are out there on the market. The fourth model that he has in his big five is a reviews-based structure. So whether you are comparing different options that people have online by their public reviews, or whether you're creating your own review-based structure of what you see the market as being, having that openness and that transparency and that visibility of various different solutions is a great way of bringing your audience in and helping them build trust in you so that they can choose the right option for themselves. And then the fifth category is what he calls best in class. So this is the fifth of his big five in They Ask, You Answer. And this is all about helping people who are only looking for the very best option in the market to solve the problem that they've got. What does that look like, and why does it look that way? And how can you buy that best in class solution? So 5 big topics that all kind of interrelate to the buying process, but all at a level of detail that demands that somebody is middle of funnel in order for them to be able to take it seriously or invest the time to go through those resources and download them. So think about Marcus Sheridan's They Ask, You Answer Big Five when thinking about topics that you might use when you put them on middle of funnel landing pages. The other book that I really like in this genre of thinking about your audience at middle of funnel or bottom of funnel is the book Content Fortress by Martin Huntback and Lindsay Cambridge. Friends of mine from my content marketing days. We were in a group together off the back of them launching their business, Jammy Digital, and growing that business. They decided that in order to position themselves as the higher value source of content marketing in their marketplace, they wrote the book Content Fortress off the back of what they'd learned by being content marketers themselves and appealing to this market, but to show their audience how they could do that themselves and position themselves as high value businesses in their own right. And Content Fortress is a wonderful read, a couple of 100 pages, easy to digest over a weekend. But in terms of its core themes, that as well has 5 main topics that you should think about in the way that you create content for your business. And again, I think this appeals to middle of funnel or bottom of funnel buyers. The first one is around transparency. So how can you show the ins and outs of everything that goes into how you provide your solution and what it looks like and why it looks that way and how you work with clients, day in the life type stuff that helps you build that trust and that integrity and that honesty with people that visit your content. Off the back of that, you can have downloadable guides, buyer's guides, checklists, that kind of thing that come off the back of that type of transparency style content. The second one relates to values and values-led content. Using values-based messaging helps those people who are reading your content to self-identify that their values meet yours. And this type of content is all about calling out things that you don't like in the industry or common misconceptions that exist in your industry and being very upfront, being very honest. And perhaps your suppliers wouldn't like you talking about this kind of thing, but it builds that rapport and that trust and that integrity and honesty with your target clients that actually they have a values match with you. This kind of content, in terms of thinking about it from a landing page perspective rather than just purely a blog post or a video post around this, you can have downloadable guides that call out some of those poorer practices. So you might have seen on one of my episodes, I had a bingo card of things that people talk about in the CRM space. That for me was my almost like silly way of calling out poor practices or poor behaviors that people have when it comes to recommending a CRM product. That fits under this values-led content type framework. The third piece of content that they talk about in Content Fortress is what they call repelling content. So what repelling content does is it creates this moat around your business that says we don't want to work with this type of business or these type of people. And we explain why, and it's for these reasons. And this is the way that we operate, and we do so because of this, that, or the other. Repel-based content has a place in landing pages as well, in the fact that you can also create downloadable guides, downloadable solutions guides, or buyer's guides, or spreadsheets for calculating costs of things around this kind of repelling content type stuff. So an example that Martin and Lindsay gave in Content Fortress when they were talking about their own business was how they talk about not wanting to underprice what they do and the reasons for that. So they were able to frame in a cost base piece when it came to repelling the wrong types of clients away from them. So what they're saying with repel-based content is we work with these types of people and we very definitely don't work with these other types of groups. So what they're able to do with that is attract interest because it's quirky and because it's very honest and different to what most people will put online, but also off the back of it and off the back of entertaining in some sort of way and raising an eyebrow in another type of way and shining a light on some of the practices that exist in an industry. What you're able to do by drawing people in with that is then give them an alternative, and that becomes the downloadable guide. So our alternative is that we work this way. Our alternative is that we encourage you to buy in this way. Leave your details here to download this buyer's guide. And it can be exactly the same download that you use for some of the other content, but you're just framing it in a slightly different way. The fourth type of content is more process-oriented content. And they talk about it in Content Fortress as being around expectation setting. So an expectation setting piece of content will talk about the structure of what a project might look like, or the structure of what an engagement might look like when we're working with you. That would apply in a patient-led business. It would apply in a agency style or services style setting. Process-based expectation setting content gives the reader and gives the person that's opting in for the thing a means to be able to plan out and get clear in their mind what the process of working with you will be like. This is awesome for landing page style opt-ins, because if you can give somebody a step-by-step guide or a project plan or a clear picture of what going from point A to point B to point C will look like, that not only gives them that clarity and that transparency of what they need to think about to solve the problem that they've got, but actually it makes them a better buyer from you as well. That if they've seen what a great process for solving this problem that they have looks like, who are they likely to trust more than anybody else but the people that have told them about that process and how to solve that problem? So expectation setting, process-oriented content is a great way of doing that. And that download will probably be a process guide. It'll probably be a step-by-step blueprint. It might be even a project plan if it's a little bit more complex. It might be a Notion template. You can think of any number of different things that you might use for this. I'm a big fan of keeping this simple, so you'll often see that my downloads in this space will be a Google Doc, or it'll be a simple Canva checklist. I don't use complex or elaborate design around this, but there is a theme running through all of this type of content that I have on my site, of the colors that are in my brand, what my brand stands for, and common look, theme, and templated structure around what those downloads look like. So expectation setting is a great method that you can use for middle of funnel landing pages. The final topic in Content Fortress is around making sure that your personality and your tone completely comes across in all of your content that you create online, be that blog posts, landing pages. Is it absolutely clear that this relates to you? And this final part of the book that they wrote relates to this. So how is it really clear very quickly to the person that's reading this or downloading this that is very clearly you and can only be you as a brand that's using that? And that guidance that they have just brings together everything else that you're creating to just make sure that the person that's reading that absolutely knows that that could only be you that's creating that, and build that sort of brand awareness, brand loyalty, brand recognition around it being very clearly you. It's the fonts that you use, it's the colors that you use, it's the sense of humor in some of the stuff that's in there that could only be associated with you. In terms of wrapping up then, the concepts that I've introduced in terms of the landing pages that exist in middle of funnel and some of the ideas that you can draw from both They Ask You Answer and Content Fortress, I don't want you to feel bombarded by all of these ideas. What I want this to have been for you is a trigger that, can you find that one thing or those couple of things where you can create something that might have been a blog post, but actually might be better served being a landing page, the infomercial style setting that I described, where you're building trust, you're building awareness, you're building knowledge for that problem-aware person around the solutions that exist. So taking off a lot of the clutter, that would normally be around a blog post and making it more focused around what your content is, but then drawing them towards that opt-in of that checklist or that buyer's guide or that process document. Having one or two really good middle of funnel landing pages gives you somewhere to point a person that is at that stage where they can go and they can benefit from that content and opt in to your list at that point where you know that they're middle of funnel. So you know what then your follow-up content needs to be to take them on to our next topic, which is bottom of funnel. So if this has been valuable to you, that's fantastic. There is a downloadable guide that you can get with this. If you look at the show notes, it will be under getsystemswise.com/EP42, and that will take you to the summary of this episode and the downloadable guide that covers both middle of funnel and bottom of funnel. And on that note, in the next episode, I'll be talking about your bottom of funnel landing pages. So I'll see you then. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Systems Wise podcast. Remember that what we learn today builds more value if there's a plan to take action on it tomorrow. So head to getsystemswise.com and check out all the resources and training on the software and systems that you need to build a scalable business without breaking the bank. And if you value the show, please help others to discover it too by leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts, or by sharing a link to an episode on LinkedIn or wherever your finger does its scrolling.